Hi, everybody, and welcome to Season 2 of the Dr. Psych Mom Show. This is just what I've made up in my head as Season 2. There is no discontinuity with Season 1. It is all the same sorts of topics, but I did 200 episodes in Season 1, so I figured why the hell not make it Season 2, because it's also the second half of the year. So maybe every 6 months I'll make it a new season, or maybe I'll never make a new season again. We just never know. It's however the spirit moves me. Please do subscribe because I have awesome new episodes. The most recent one was why not to lie about your sexual past, and relatedly, why never to be with anybody with whom you would have to lie about your sexual past. And then I have like my whole case, a fake hypothetical about, I think I called them Jane and Johnny or something, that they meet when they're young and she feels she has to lie because she slept with too many guys. Whatever, it's a good ride. So subscribe so that you can get that episode and so many more. So today we are going to talk about why couples have a difference of opinion on having sex in the dark versus the light. And this is frequently something that men say as a representative, as a proxy variable for that their wife is a prude, is that, although nobody says that word anymore because we're not in middle school, but low libido, whatever we say. And so they say, and it always has to be in the dark. Now, listen, like there's a lot of reasons that having sex in the dark is actually great. Not every single time. Also, you shouldn't always be having sex at the same time of day. So, as I've repeatedly said, many women cannot have sex at night. Their testosterone's in the toilet. So, if you're having sex in the morning or in the afternoon, then the light is on by virtue of, the celestial light of the sun. So, you can just have regular, sex in whatever the ambient light is of the environment. So therefore, if it's nighttime, it could be dark. Now, why do women, especially highly sensitive women, which many women are, especially around sex, even if they're not highly sensitive in every regard, they get sensitive over time as their libido goes down. They get more physiologically attuned to, anything that isn't perfect. So why do women like it better in the dark? Okay, first, I just did a body image podcast. If it's dark, they don't have to worry about their stretch marks, their cellulite, the vicissitudes of aging, childbirth, nursing, etc. That's a fairly obvious one. Guys tend to think that the woman wants the light off. If a guy has low self-esteem, if he's preoccupied attachment, he's going to think she wants the light off because he's so ugly to her. That is never it. I've never heard that. I've never, that's not real. Women are not very visual is the thing, and guys cannot picture that because they're not understanding how women operate. They think that women operate as kind of a lower sex drive version of how they operate. That's not accurate. Many women are not visual at all, and in fact the overstimulation of having to look at either their body or the guy's body during sex is overwhelming. They can't concentrate on anything that's going on. Now, a lot of women also will close their eyes, and then if the guy doesn't like this either, then they're kind of fucked, but not in a good way, because they are it's like being under a microscope. You feel like you're overstimulated. Many of you have wives that get very tired at night. They're highly sensitive people, and they don't even really make eye contact with you after a certain time of night when they're tired, correct? So imagine then when you're asking for all this eye contact and staring at each other during sex, it's going to turn her off like the proverbial light switch. So you really want to think about it from within her head. She cannot relax if she's being inspected and asked to make all this eye contact. In fact, the other senses become heightened when you turn one sense off. That's why in the description I linked you to a sex blindfold, because you should be at least experimenting on both sides, both for you and for the woman, of what it would be like if there was none of this and you could just relax and focus on the physical sensations of sex and the auditory and the olfactory and whatever, but not the looking at one another. And if the woman has a blindfold on, then you could look at her body all you want, but she doesn't feel the pressure of having to look back, etc., etc. Now, this turning on the light thing has become much more of a thing in recent years. And I personally believe that it's probably due to porn, because in porn you see every detail of everything, because like that is what porn is. It's visual and it's auditory, but it's predominantly visual. And so if the light was off in porn, that would be a pretty bad porn. So then guys take what they see in porn and then they think that there's all these women out there that love to have sex in the light. They don't usually. They do it in the honeymoon phase. Again, their hormones are like hysterical and, like they're totally different women then. But then when the honeymoon stage goes away, they don't feel like doing it in the light anymore because they never really liked it as much to begin with. Now, a lot of men say that this means that a woman is like, again, like low libido or prude or whatever. It doesn't have to mean that. Sometimes, of course, if she doesn't like sex in the light and she doesn't like sex at night and she doesn't like sex in the morning and she doesn't like sex in the afternoon and, she never masturbates and she never has any fantasies, yes, sure. But you got more problems then than just the light. There are many, many women, and again, refer back to my very original podcast way back in season 1, aka January, my first podcast about how to make your highly sensitive wife want sex a lot more. Not only do I talk about the light, but also let her leave her clothes on to start. Porn, everybody gets undressed really quick and it's a naked woman, or it's a naked woman with some kind of accoutrement, some sort of costume or something. But in reality, the majority of women's most prized and longed for sexual experiences, their fantasies, come from the time in their life, as I've discussed, pre-intercourse, when there were long makeout sessions. And guess what? Dark rooms or dark parked cars where there was a lot of touching, clothes on. It was all foreplay. There wasn't all this emphasis on just like splaying you out and just the physicality of penis and vagina intercourse. Or for all of you guys who are like, oh, no, I like to go down on her in the light too. You know what I mean? Like, it's this sexual bent instead of the sensual. So when you go to a massage, they don't put you in the light. They make it very dim light. And a lot of people would like it better if it was in the dark. And if you go to yoga class or bar class or spin class even, or all of which are, predominantly women, it's also dark. So, maybe women just like the fucking dark. You can't get too much more proof than like all these women things are dark. And women are always the ones that are like draping stuff over the lamp and the curtains and all of this shit, because women are more sensitive and they're less visual. Like, if you're at a spin class and there's like a mirror across the room and you see your own ass like sweating and huffing and puffing, no one's coming back to that class that's a woman. Instead, it's nice and dark, makes you feel like you're in the club back 20 years ago. That's like what women like more. So is this every woman? No. And it's kind of intellectually lazy to like listen to every podcast or read every post and be like, haha, but I know an exception, and I'm sure it really doesn't do you well in your marital communication either. So it goes without saying, for now and forever after, that nothing that I say applies to 100% of people. That should be very, very obvious to anybody who's a thinking person. So what I'm trying to do is to tell you overall trends that I see and to elucidate, the what the women are thinking. So like you get to be behind the curtain of the Wizard of Oz there. So instead of thinking, why is my wife so not fun and such a buzzkill and like, why does everything always have to be in the dark? Why don't you try instead to think about it as a sensory heightening experience, and to even bring out a blindfold and be like, this is cool. Now, she doesn't know exactly where I'm going to touch her. Women require a lot more edging and teasing and slow foreplay than men realize and than women advocate for, because the majority of women are too shy and feel too awkward to say things like that, and or they've never actually been with a good lover, so they don't have any idea what they would want. But if you do try something, whether it's in the dark or whether it's with a blindfold, then the woman doesn't know exactly when and how you're going to touch her. And if you let her leave some of her clothes on to start, that could be very erotic as well. What you're trying to do is lessen the overwhelm of overstimulation. It's very overstimulating to just like tear off your clothes and jump into bed and start fucking. That is not what women usually find erotic. There are very few fantasies like that unless they involve a man that they have never actually spoken to, because evolutionarily he is a new male and her body says, just have sex with this new man in order to increase the genetic diversity of our species, preferably when you're ovulating. But in all more drawn out, romantic, fantastic meaning fantasy, not awesome, sort of situations, there's a lot of long, drawn out, lingering, teasing, and foreplay that really builds women up. And so when women have something over their body, like their own clothes or lingerie or a blanket or a sheet that you're touching them through, that can be a lot more erotic and exciting. Similarly, when it's dark and they can really kind of get into what's happening because they're not expected to make the porn star eye contact that you want, then they can also really get to a different level of excitement. The whole thing for many women is for erotic excitement to build. So many men don't do this. So the same woman who, like, let's say like you're one of these 3-minute intercourse people that I just had a podcast about, why intercourse is fucking up your sex life. If you've not subscribed, you will get that classic of our time in addition to all the others. But in that one, I talk about how people have this like 3-minute intercourse or 10-minute intercourse. A woman does not even get aroused by the whole end of it. I don't care if she had an orgasm. An orgasm is a physiological thing. It's like a sneeze. The orgasm that a woman has after 3 minutes of intercourse has much more in common with an involuntary reflex where her knee gets tapped by a hammer and then she kicks, to any sort of erotic transformative sexual experience at all. It's really, it may be an orgasm, but it's not the kind of orgasm that you're going for. Now, broader scale, many men are like, okay, fine, so then everything has to go her way, and blah, 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 blah. Like, why do I always have to give a massage, but, blah, blah. Let me tell you something. Every guy that I've ever met that's complaining about giving a massage, having sex in the dark, having sex under the blanket, having sex with a blindfold, they don't complain about that, which is so ironic, because it's like literally the same thing as the dark for the woman, but whatever. All the guys that are complaining about having these constrictions placed on them are not with a woman who really enjoys sex. So then, of course, they think that I'm stupid, right? They're like, oh, I'm going to do all that shit. I'm going to give a 40-minute massage. I'm going to, do all this erotic shit. And then why? She's still going to be silent. I'll barely know when she comes, and then she'll be done. No, that may not be how it goes. That may be her lack of her acting like a dead starfish may be because sex has never been good, really, because it's never been good enough. It's never been what she wants. She doesn't know how to tell you, so therefore I'm speaking for, the trees, like the Lorax here. It may be that she cannot tell you that everything has been too overwhelming, too crass, too, quote, porny, but if you saw what she was capable of, if she was allowed to have a slow build-up without the lights, camera, action type of shit, then you would be with a woman who is having really good orgasms and enjoying sex and asking for sex and wanting it and wanting to touch you. This could be the sex that you dream of, and it would be what? In the dark? That's really that bad? Because let me tell you, if you were really having sex that was two people really connecting and a long, drawn-out, sensual, erotic exploration of one another's bodies, and you're complaining about the dark, then it would be as though a woman came to me and she said, in my office, the thing is I wanted my husband to be more romantic. So what he did is he started to write me poetry. He learned to play the guitar. And so he wrote me this wonderful romantic song. But the thing is, it was only 2 stanzas. I myself would have liked 3 stanzas. So, I'm really, really disappointed. So I would be like, listen, stupid. This is not a way to go about enhancing your marriage by being so picky and selfish, right? So this is the same thing. So I would say to any man who says, yeah, but the amazing transcendental sex that we might have if I just get out of this headspace where everything has to kind of approximate porn, it might be amazing and we might feel close and connected, and I might actually have a woman who initiates sex with me because she starts to like sex. It's not good because the light's not on. And you know what? The afternoon or morning ideas don't do it for me either. And I think that blindfold is too expensive at $8.99. I'd be like, listen, stupid, you are deserving the sex life that you get because you are not getting outside your own selfish needs to think about what if I got outside the box of how I've previously trapped myself with my thinking, I could be having the sex life of my dreams, but it just would not have every single component that I want. By the way, also, a lot more women would be giving blowjobs and all the other shit that you want under cover of darkness. This is just a human thing. Like, people do not like to especially try new things when they feel very exposed, so it's kind of like when you are on a date with your wife or with whoever else, and remember back when you would date and actually have fun. So there were times when the woman got a little more drunk than you, maybe frequently, or because you were driving or what have you. So in my dating history, I constantly would observe that if you get more drunk than the guy, frequently the guy gets a lot more uninhibited than the inverse. If the guy's more drunk than you would think he would be so uninhibited in bed. He's not. Where the guy's sweet spot is usually for confidence and disinhibition is when he thinks that you are drunk, even when they think you're drunker than you are. Because then it's kind of like, what's my analogy going to be? The fucking blindfold. It's like that. It's like she's like the drunkish woman isn't really like looking at you. She's not judging you. She's looking at you, but you see that it's, she's kind of, a little bit half there. I'm not talking about a non-consent situation for anybody, attacks me. Not a non-consent situation. The situation where you go for a date and the woman has a glass and a half, 2 glasses of wine, and you have 0. So in this situation, frequently men will find themselves courageous enough to try new things in bed because it's kind of like the woman isn't like exactly staring at them, judging them, thinking all these things that he thinks she's thinking potentially about his performance, etc. It's like a softener. He feels less exposed because he doesn't think she's recording as assiduously his potential fuck-ups in her mind. So it's the same kind of thing for a woman. When she's trying new things, if it's dark, if you have a blindfold on even, you know how many men would get a better blowjob if they had a fucking blindfold on? Because then they're not staring at her, and the staring makes many women self-conscious. So this isn't to mean that you can never look at your wife in the eyes or whatever. I personally think that a good way for people who want to have sex in the light to end up having more sex in the light is just to have sex by the light of whatever time it is. That way you have more variety in your sex life. You got the afternoon light, you got the morning light, and then you got the dark at night. But even if you hate the idea of the sex in the dark, you may not hate the idea of the better sex that you will have, of a woman that actually feels comfortable, especially if you pair this with what I'm telling you, the information about how women want more extended and erotic foreplay, which and they can only do that and enjoy that if they feel relaxed, and many of them only feel relaxed in the dark, or at least not with overhead light on, so that they can see every fucking imperfection in them. And it doesn't matter how confident you are, you're like seeing too much. You're seeing too much of the room, you're seeing too much of the man, you're seeing too much of yourself. It's just too much. And more women that are sensitive will understand exactly what I mean and will want to send this to their partner and say, can't we Oh, frog in my throat. Can't we try this? Can't we try sex in the dark or sex in the half dark or whatever the case may be? And I cannot tell you this enough. If your wife was enjoying sex, now, if your wife never initiates sex, most of the time it's because she doesn't enjoy sex. Just think about it. Doesn't she go to the refrigerator to get a snack when she's hungry? That's because she likes what she's going to get. If it was just filled with celery in there, she would not be going to the fridge. So it is possible, no matter what your ego is telling you, that it is because the sex has not been transcendentally good that she has never initiated it. And if it was more of what she wants, which for many women is a more erotic, long, drawn out, teasing activity where they're allowed to acclimate gradually to being touched and to being turned on, with the clothes starting, with the dark, with everything. And then at the end, by the way, you may be able to turn on the lights if she wants, and certainly she's going to be naked by then because she's already excited, which, as I've said so many times, gives you a completely different woman. So the woman who gets under the blankets and in the dark with her t-shirt on at the beginning with enough sex and foreplay rather and excitement and all of that, she may and 60 minutes later be completely out of the blanket asking you to have sex with her, asking for whatever it is that you think she would never ask for because she's finally turned on and relaxed enough. And for women, that goes hand in hand. Your parasympathetic system has to be activated in order for you to really enjoy sex. That's why massage is so fruitful in this regard. All right, so if you got any iota of new information from this podcast, please do subscribe, and then you will hear the one about why not to lie about your sexual past and anything else that I think of in this season 2 of the Dr. Psych Mom Show. All right, guys, have a good night, day, whatever the hell time it is. All right, bye-bye.